What's up, guys? I'm Matt Manny. In this episode, I want to talk about 5 tips to edit faster in Lumafusion. Now, if you have a work or school deadline coming up, or you just want more time to relax, you gotta up those skills on your workflow. Time is the one quantity on earth that you cannot get more of. So if you want more time, you gotta figure out a better way to use it. So let's just jump in.
Matt Manny Art.
Alright guys, now that we have our project open here in Lumafusion, let's just jump right in. Tip number 1, the undo button. So let's say I'm scrolling through my video here and I think this is a little bit too long. I just want to keep this part right here and I want it to end here. So I hit cut, and then I'm cutting along and I went, oops, I cut the soundtrack down here below. I don't want that. What do? Just go up here to the right hand side and you'll see 2 arrow keys. There's one pointing left, one pointing right. Hit the one pointing left, boom, it undoes that cut. Now, for whatever reason, I decided, you know what, no, I wanted that. I can just click the one that's pointing right and it reinstills that cut. Now, this is something I use almost every day on every project I'm doing, just because as I'm going through and I have my workflow and I'm cutting here, cutting there, I'll realize little things that, after I look at it again, I didn't want that, right? Or a lot of times I wind up hitting one of these buttons down below and realize I didn't want to do that. So, undo button. Super useful, you'll use it all the time. Tip number 2, adding tags and markers. So as you go through and scan your project, I'd recommend a good thing to do is just go through and see major spots where you know you're going to make changes or you know you're going to make edits. And then what you can do is add little markers and tags to remind yourself what you wanted to do with that edit. Maybe you don't have the time to edit all in one go, so you're going to be revisiting this project over days or weeks. So the tags will come in super handy at just reminding you what you wanted to do. Just leave yourself little notes along the trail, right? So here's how we'll do this. Let's say right here between these 2 clips, this transition, I want something to happen specifically with this music track. So what I can do is go under the preview window up there and you'll see on the left hand side there's 3 little shapes. There's an eye in a circle, there's like a shield with a plus, and then there's those 2 arrows. So what you want to do is click the shield with the plus and this little window will pop up. So now we can put a little note to ourselves. Let's call this beat, drop, ball, transition, right? Maybe there's a beat in the music right when that hits. I want this to transition. I just want to let myself know that that's where it is along the music track and it's between those 2 clips. Really, the functionality of this is only limited to your thought process, so you can use these in a ton of different ways. So for me, this is what I usually do. I scroll through and I throw down these tags and key points in the music that I just want to remember something happens that will affect my edit, whether it's a beat drop or some silence or something where I want to take out the music track. Something's happening that I just want to remind myself of as I return to this edit. As an added benefit, these also help you navigate through your project a lot quicker and a lot easier. Because that timeline underneath the preview video actually functions as a working timeline, you can just go ahead and click on these tags and it takes you right to those spots. Super helpful. That will definitely help you with your workflow as you jump around to these key points and make your edits. Tip number 3. How to quickly move clips within the editor. For me, I had to learn this the hard way, but it's super important, especially when you get into longer and more complex projects. So let's say the end of this project here, I have these tiny slivers of edits. Let's add in another one right here, right? I want right when I hit that can. So this tiny little sliver, I realized I wanted at the beginning of the project. So what I can do is hold down with my Apple Pencil and then I can just drag it along. Now, this isn't that excessively long. This is only a few minute clip. But if you have 30, 40, 50 minute videos, and then you have these tiny pieces of clip that you want to move around, it can be really frustrating. Not only time consuming, but you wind up losing them, or they tend to jump around, or they get lost in things. So here's what we can do. Hold down with the Apple Pencil, drag that up just so you can see it. And then with your free hand, go ahead and click on the timeline underneath the preview video to wherever you want to drop this clip. So I want to go back to that marker that I placed. So I can just click up there and boom, I'm at the beginning of the project. Didn't have to drag this, didn't have to do anything. Now I can just drop it in there. Perfect. Super clean, super easy, super effective. this one is going to be huge, especially as you get into more complex projects. Alright, so let's do that again. So what we can do is drag that up there just so we can see it a little bit better. Then I want this clip to go back to the beginning of the project. So what I'll do is go to that little timeline under the preview window and just click on that with my finger. And boom, I'm right back to the start of the project. There's that other clip that we originally dropped in there. I dropped that in there and we're done. Tip number 4, how to double a clip. So let's say I'm not really sure how to edit this first piece of clip here I have leading up to the baseball. I'm not sure, how fast I want the approach to be, or I'm not sure where to make my cuts. So what I want to do is play around a little bit, but I don't want to make this all convoluted. And then if I mess up, I have to do a lot of undos. So what we can do is just double this clip. So what we'll do is click on that and highlight it, make sure it's white, and then go down to the bottom where you have all these tools. And on the far left, you'll see a plus sign in a rectangle with another rectangle behind it. Go ahead and click on that, and boom, you have doubled that clip. Now, in order to see and hear this clip, you have to go over to the left side where you have these sound meters, and you click on the eye and the little microphone, and now you can see and hear this clip. Now what I do is I experiment, I play around, I make edits to this to see what might work, especially when I have a soundtrack underneath. I want to see, where are the best cuts on the best points in the music. This is just how I think. This is what I do when it comes to music and art and video editing. I like to play around and experiment before I set anything in stone. A lot of times that sense of play just leads to cool things that I wouldn't have discovered otherwise. So let's say I make a bunch of cuts in this. Now I can play around and I can remove some of these, and I can just do things that won't convolute or destroy my whole project, and I won't have to be bothered with hitting that undo button a bunch of times. That's fine, but a lot of times when you have a lot of intricate little edits that you've made and little cuts, and you have effects going on, you have all these things, you don't want to be relying on that undo button, because a lot of times you start undoing things that you don't want to undo, and you're just creating a lot more work for yourself. I'd rather just double up a piece of clip and then just play around with it. If I don't like what I did, I can just get rid of it, still have the original piece of clip underneath. It's exactly the same, no changes made to it. One of the best things about working in a digital space is that you can just copy and paste things, play around and experiment, and there's no destruction done to the original project. Now, if you were to paint on a real canvas or do a live performance, such as comedy or music or whatever it might be, you don't get redos. You don't get to play around and experiment. You just have to do another project. You have to start over and do it again. So take advantage of the fact that in a digital space, you have complete freedom to play around and it's non-destructive. I'm telling you guys, I use this copy feature all the time just to play around, and I think my projects really benefit from it, because it gives me the training wheels and the safety net to play around without fear that I'm going to ruin what I've already done. Tip number 5, how to copy and paste the attribute changes you've made to a clip. So for example, let's stick with this same clip here with the baseball. If we double click on that, we go into this other editor, we go to color and effects. Now let's add original. Now we can start playing around. Maybe it's too bright. Let's add a little contrast. Okay, so now that we're happy with how this looks, let's go and add a LUTs on top. Maybe I want this to have a bit of a faded look to it, right? I like that. It's kind of like old-time baseball, right? Now, we go back out of the editor, now that we're happy with this, and we look at all these other clips and we realize, these are going to look very similar. We want this all to have a similar look. It's similar lighting, it's a similar environment. So instead of going in and individually changing those, we can just copy and paste all those changes we made and then apply them to all the clips. So what we'll do is go down here to that center toolbar, and dead center you see a little clipboard with a star. So we're going to click on that clipboard, and then this little window pops up that says attributes clipboard. It has copy, then it has these 5 symbols, and then paste. So right now we only want the color and FX, so we're going to make sure those 2 are blue and then hit copy. Now we're going to go over to our next clip, make sure that's highlighted. Go back down to the clipboard, hit that. Now make sure it's just the color and effects again that are highlighted blue. Then hit paste. Now it has the exact same look as this other clip. Now we can just go through here, take each one. See, now this is faded, then this one's back to normal, this one's normal. We can do the same thing. Make sure you highlight the clip. You can't just hover over it. Make sure it has that white highlight. Hit the clipboard. You still have those 2 things highlighted. Again, just hit paste now, and the attributes are copied. Again, this one, hit the clipboard, hit paste, attributes are copied. So this is an extremely efficient way of making sure your project has that look that you want and that it has that continuity throughout of the feel and the emotion and the look that you're trying to achieve. You just copy and paste these bad boys in there. You'll be sipping a margarita before you know it. Alright guys, that is my 5 tips to edit faster in Lumafusion. I hope this saves you some time. I hope you find this helpful. If you enjoy these videos, you like what I've been up to, hit like and subscribe. It helps me out big time, guys. I'm going to keep throwing these tips out there. As always, thanks so much for joining me, guys. Stay safe out there, stay creative, stay engaged. I love you.